All right, welcome everybody. I think we are officially live here. Let me see, how do I think we're about to go live here. All right, awesome. Bienvenidos a todos. Ya vamos a arrancar en unos 2 minutos. Deja que yo hacer que todo está funcionando bien y ya vamos a arrancar. Entonces, voy a intentar también hacerlo sin conexión. Ok, el micrófono está conectado. Iniciar live. A ver. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Give me 1 minute. We're gonna try to. I'm trying to stream on TikTok also. So give me 2 seconds. I'm a bit new to this. All right. Let's give it a shot. Pero sí, bienvenidos a todos. Si ustedes tienen algunas preguntas antes de que empezamos, póngalos ahí en el chat. Si no me puedes escuchar bien, también me avisas. Welcome, everybody. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the recent news issue in the United States with Trump and these tariffs, and we're going to be using this as a way to, as a way to learn English. So we're going to be going over quite a few different, quite a few different phrases and phrasal verbs. So we'll get started here in one moment. We're starting a bit late, so we'll give everybody a couple minutes to get here. All right, where's our first video? All right, welcome everybody. Let me know if you can hear me okay. All right, so let's go here so I can see this. All right, is it working all right, or am I frozen? Let's see how the quality is here. 1 second. Just 2 more minutes and we'll get started. We'll get started here around 7:10. So I apologize for the delay, but we'll get started here real quick. So if anyone's here, welcome, Victoria. Can you hear me okay? We're about to begin. Okay, so what we'll be doing today is talking about some of these phrases, and we're going to start off by watching a video, and so that's what I'm getting set up for. Hear me okay right
we're
now. All right, very good. So we got a couple people here. We'll go ahead and get it started. All right, anybody? All right, very good. So if anyone has any questions, be sure to put them there. Uh, yeah, very good. Be sure to put them in the messages, and I'll be checking the messages every so often. So, the first thing we're going to do today, welcome. Today we will be discussing and kind of giving an overview of the news in the last week in the US regarding the tariffs. And through this, we're going to learn lots of phrases, as you guys can see here. For example, get ripped off, sit on the sidelines, reciprocal, at our expense. And the idea is to learn these phrases and words in context and also learn a bit about this interesting news story. Sí, sí, Matías, yo puedo hablar español, entonces la idea es que voy a estar hablando como medio inglés, medio español. Entonces, si alguien no habla español o no me entiendes en el inglés, me dices y yo repito en el otro idioma. Pero bueno, ya estamos casi listos, entonces voy a buscar el primer video y vamos a arrancar. Pero antes de que empezamos, ¿alguien tiene alguna pregunta o algo así? A ver. Ok. Voy a buscarlo por acá, entonces. Ok. Ya. Listo. Para empezar, lo que vamos a hacer es ver ese discurso de Trump. Es el discurso que hizo cuando anunció las tariffs para la primera vez. So, what we're going to do is watch some parts of this speech from Trump the first time he announced these tariffs about 1 week ago. So it's a short video, and the idea is just to see some of these phrases in the proper context. So we'll see. Sorry, no speak English good. Ah, pues muy bien. Entonces estoy muy feliz que estés acá para mejorar tu inglés. Entonces ya. Bueno. Okay. So we will begin with the video and then move on from there. Listo. Todos pueden ver la pantalla, ¿cierto? Okay. Very good. So we'll watch the video and talk about some of the idioms.
Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple.
Okay, so there you saw the first two phrases. The first one is getting ripped off. So this means that the US, in his opinion, is paying too much money. So it's como estafar o como se aprovecharon de los Estados Unidos o algo así. Entonces, to get ripped off is when you pay too much for something, or perhaps someone scams you. Por ejemplo, cuando estés de vacaciones, uno va a la playa y en la playa hay hombres pues hombres y mujeres que están caminando, vendiendo cosas y te venden una cerveza y si me das dos cervezas y usted cómo va, no pregunta el precio. Entonces, cuando vuelven con las cervezas, te dicen que son, no sé, como $20 cada una. Entonces, este es como ripped off. Es como cobrar demasiado. And reciprocal es algo como yo lo hago y tú me lo haces, como recíproco, creo, en español. So, we will continue.
It can't get any simpler than that. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at.
All right. So, this next phrase is to sit on the sidelines. So, this is an idiom that comes from the world of sports. So, the sidelines es como la banca, donde la gente se asienten cuando no están en el juego. Entonces, si uno está en los sidelines, quiere decir que no estás en el juego. So, in this case, he's saying that the American people are kind of watching the rest of the world make a lot of money and do good business, but American people are not. And again, this is just what he is saying. This is not my personal opinion. This is just what he's saying and what it means in English. So, all right, we'll continue here. At our expense, we'll talk about later. But any questions so far? Welcome everyone here. Any questions so far about any words or phrases that he has used in this, in this speech? Oh, it looks like on TikTok I'm having a problem with the connection of the camera, perhaps. I don't know, but we'll continue and we'll see if this will fix itself. All right.
At our expense, we're also standing up for our great farmers and ranchers who are brutalized by nations all over the world, brutalized. Well, they were going through the sky, the egg prices, they were going through the sky. And in sleepy Joe Biden's last year in office,
All right. So he talks about prices going through the sky. So he's talking about inflation. This phrase through the sky is a bit weird. Typically, we say through the roof. So if we say prices are going through the roof, it means prices are increasing. Que no sé, que la canasta está subiendo mucho. Que la canasta diaria como huevos, carne, las cosas que todo el mundo tiene que comprar through the roof or through the sky. It's kind of a weird way that he says it. But anyway, all right, we will continue here. But I'm having a little bit of trouble with one of my streams. I don't know what the issue is. But anyway, we'll continue.
United States hemorrhaged 100,000 manufacturing jobs, and the number was going through the roof at levels never seen before. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You know, you think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. But they all understand. They're ripping us off, and they...
Okay, so here he uses this phrase again. They're ripping us off. They're ripping us off. This is the main justification he gives for starting these tariffs. And one thing, para la gente allá en TikTok, parece que tenemos parece que la cámara de allá no está funcionando bien. Entonces, si me estás viendo en TikTok, va a YouTube o Instagram y es ese mismo página, Business as Usual English, y me pueden seguir viendo ahí, pero eso no está saliendo bien. Entonces vamos a intentar en otro día. Entonces vaya a Instagram, Business as Usual English, or YouTube. So I'm going to go ahead and close this stream here on TikTok. Hello, Belfort. Y hasta el momento, ¿alguna pregunta, alguna duda? No, okay, all right, very good. So we'll continue.
I understood it. My old speeches, and that people would say, I'd be on a television show, I'd be talking about how we were being ripped off by these countries. I mean, nothing, cheerful term, groceries. It sort of says a bag with different things in it. Groceries went through the roof. And I campaigned on that. I talked about the word groceries for a lot. And energy costs now are down. Our country and its tax.
Okay, so you can see he uses this word being ripped off. So if you're buying something at a local, or maybe in a market, and you notice the price is too high, you can say, this is a ripoff. I'm not going to buy this. So now we'll start off and we'll talk a little bit about how to use some of these words in the proper context and the proper meaning. So we're going to go ahead and continue. So we already spoke at length about get ripped off. Es como que te cobran de más o ser estafado. So some examples. Tourists often get ripped off at the airport. Our company got ripped off in the supplier deal. So any questions about get ripped off? Any doubts or any questions so far? Okay. All right. All right. The next one here is sit on the sidelines. So to sit on the sidelines is to not participate. So think about in sports, for example. So if you are participating in a sport, hay la gente que están jugando y la gente que está en la banca. Entonces, ese es como una metáfora que dice que quedarse al margen, que no están participando en la actividad. So, here she sat on the sidelines during the whole argument. Or we can't sit on the sidelines while our competitors expand. All right. So this is a good idiom. We're going to look at it here on UGlish. So there's a very good website that I use a lot for teaching and learning languages that is called UGlish. And let me show you guys what it is. If you guys have been here watching the lives before, you know that UGlish is one of my favorite websites, and this is some sponsorship. This is a free website that is a database of YouTube, and it's amazing because what you can do is find sentences in context. So let's type in sit on the sidelines and see what we can find here.
Often people are learning that it's best to sit on the sidelines and to not ask those questions and to not stake those claims.
Okay, so here she's saying, in an argument, sometimes it's best to sit on the sidelines, to not involve yourself in conflict.
Public office, but I could not continue to sit on the sidelines and watch what's happening to our state.
Here she says, I could not continue to sit on the sidelines. So she had to participate. She had to do something. She couldn't continue to sit on the sidelines. But very good. So any questions about this phrase, sit on the sidelines? Okay, we will continue to the next one. So, all right, reciprocal. This is a word that is used a lot with the tariffs. Reciprocal tariffs. So, when something we say goes both ways. En español, es como mutuo o recíproco. So, in Trump's opinion, he feels that other nations are taking advantage of the U.S., so he feels this tariff is reciprocal. So they are doing something to the U.S., and the U.S. is doing something back to them. This is his opinion. So reciprocal. All right. The next one is an idiom at our expense. Es como en español, a nuestra costa. La verdad no he escuchado esa frase en español, pero cuando decimos que algo es at our expense, es como algo que nos lastima. Por ejemplo, si alguien me está gozando, si alguien me está haciendo una broma y la idea de la broma es que yo soy como un bobo, this joke is at my expense. So you see, he made a joke at my expense. Or they grew their economy at our expense. So someone is winning and it's at someone else's expense, which means someone else is losing. So let's do this. Let's take a second and we're going to look on UGlish at some more examples here. So we'll just say at my expense, and we'll see what we can find. Or let's say at their expense. At their expense. See what we can find.
If the other side thinks you're just trying to win at their expense, A, they're going to remember it. B,
Okay. So in this context, he's talking and saying, if someone thinks you're trying to win at their expense, si alguien piensa que estás intentando ganar a su costa, no sé si se dice así, la verdad, qué pena, pero la idea es que si alguien piensa que estás como aprovechando o haciendo algo en que tú vas a ganar y ellos van a perder, entonces, at their expense. Let's find another example.
From Reconstruction policies at their expense demanded that
and one who will keep the status quo at their expense.
That somehow dealing with climate is coming at their expense.
So here he's saying dealing with climate is at their expense. So he means that to solve the climate problems, this will hurt business or something like this. So if something's at their expense, is going to hurt the person involved. So cualquier pregunta, hello, any questions so far about at their expense? Okay, so we'll move on here. All right. So the next one is to stand up for. So this is to defend or support, como apoyar o defender. So you have to stand up for what you believe in, or we stand up for trade policies. So in the context of the tariffs, Trump says that he is standing up for American workers. And the idea is that for example, factories in China are taking jobs from American workers, so he is standing up for American workers. And that's what he means, to support, to defend. Por ejemplo, si ustedes tienen como hermanos, como un hermano mayor, un primo, prima menor, que está más joven que tú, si alguien está haciendo bullying pues a tu familiar, tú vas a defenderlo. You will stand up for them. Entonces, la gente que no se puede que no se puede defender solos, necesita que alguien stand up for them. Also, we talk about standing up for ideas. So, to stand up for an idea is to defend an idea you believe in. So, the people who protest, la gente que salgan a la calle y manifestar, they are standing up for what they believe in. So, it's a very useful word, to stand up for something. Any questions so far? All right, perfect. All right, we talked briefly about this one, but when something is going through the roof, it is rising extremely fast. Entonces eso dice así, subir por las nubes. Ese es muy literal, porque the roof es el techo. Entonces, si algo está subiendo por el techo, going through the roof, it means it's increasing very quickly. And typically, we use this in an economic sense. So to talk about prices or to talk about profits, something like this. So you can say something is going through the roof. It's increasing very rapidly. Okay, I notice we're freezing a lot on Instagram. Is that the case? We're freezing. Okay. Sorry for the connection, but we'll continue. So let's look at a couple examples with going through the roof. Okay. Going through the roof.
For me to discuss without going through the roof.
People think that Chinese coal is going through the roof. It's not. It's plateaued.
Okay. This is a great example because we also see the word plateaued. So he says, people think Chinese coal is going through the roof. Por ejemplo, el carbón chino está subiendo mucho, pero eso no es verdad. Está como un plateau. So plateaued means the price is flat. It's not going up. It's not going down. The price has plateaued. So this is a very good example. We will watch this one more time.
Down. People think that Chinese coal is going through the roof. It's not. It's plateaued.
It's plateaued. So it's not going up. It's not going down. It's plateaued.
Different types of food for kids. And then all of a sudden they're just going through the roof and they're, you can't understand what's going on.
Going through the roof again and again.
This is 1979. We're in our second energy crisis. Oil and gas prices are going through the roof. He says.
Very good. So prices going up very quickly, going through the roof. All right. Very good. Any questions so far? All right. And the last one here is crack down on. Now, to crack down on is to enforce. So, for example, in many countries, there are problems with drugs, with drug use and drug sales. So the government is going to crack down on drugs, which means they're going to tomar medidas en contra de eso. So the government is going to try to arrest more drug dealers and spend more money on the police in order to crack down on something. So the examples here, the school is cracking down on cheating. La escuela está enforzando mucho, no sé, las normas de haciendo trampa en los exámenes. The government is cracking down on tax evasion. So the government is enforcing these rules. If you cheat, they're going to arrest you, give you a punishment. This is what it means to crack down on something. So we're going to go ahead and continue. Crack down. All right. So very nice. All right. So now, do we have any questions so far about how to use any of these words or phrases? How to use it? Ripped off, crack down. Cualquier pregunta hasta ahora. Ok. Bueno, lo que vamos a hacer ya es vamos a ver un video de, no sé, con más detalles de los tariffs. Entonces, we'll look at more details about the tariffs. So let me find the right video here. Maybe it's this one. No. Okay, give me 1 second. Let me find the video about, okay, very good. So, okay. So we will watch a video from a news broadcast about how these tariffs are actually being implemented. So I'll turn on the captions and we will begin.
On Prime News Paris is Truth or Fake, and I'm joined in the studio by Catalina Marchand de Abreu. Good to see you, Catalina. So you're staying with our top story at this hour, President Trump's sweeping tariffs, and he, of course, hit an uninhabited remote island with tariffs as well. Tell us more about that.
One of the more unusual.
Okay, so one word she used there was uninhabited. Uninhabited, it means that no one lives there.
Items on Trump's tariff list. The Trump administration unexpectedly posed a 10% tariff on the remote Heard and McDonald's Islands, also known as Hemi. The uninhabited island is an island group, part of Australia's external territory, located near Antarctica, deep as you can see in the Southern Ocean. This user says the Hemi Island, which has a population of 0 people and is inhabited only by penguins. This claim is correct. The island is home to no humans, only penguins and seals, the remote wildlife sanctuary that has no commercial activity nor residents, according to the Australian government. This decision to include the island.
Okay. So one word she used there was commercial activity. So commercial activity just means they have no business activity. So there's no businesses there who are importing and exporting goods. It's only an island inhabited by animals. It's like a nature reserve.
Islands into Trump's tariff package has sparked widespread ridicule online with an uptick.
Okay, this next word, widespread. Widespread means it covers a wide range of people. So widespread ridicule. Ridicule is when people are making fun of something. So this situation here, people are just saying that he put a tariff on an island with no people, with no businesses. So there's a widespread ridicule. Everyone online is pointing and laughing at how ridiculous this is.
Penguin memes here with the caption that reads, unprecedented protests taking place on the Heard and McDonald's Islands. Here also an AI-generated image of more penguins protesting against.
All right. Another interesting word they used there was unprecedented. Unprecedented means not done before. So when something happens for the first time, it means it's without precedent. Es como sin antecedentes, más o menos. So it's something for the first time. And here in this tweet, they're making a joke. So they're saying unprecedented protests, meaning protests so big that they have never happened before. But of course, these are just penguins, so it's a little bit of humor.
This 10% tariffs, while the hashtag penguins against Trump is also trending on X. Or here we have a video of penguins arriving to the White House to discuss these tariffs with Donald Trump. Putting all humor aside, Australian officials expressed concern over the symbolic and environmental impact or implications of these tariffs on the inhabited islands. The country now faces actually bureaucratic complications in its scientific mission there, even if minimal, a move that risks undermining goodwill between the two countries, the U.S. and Australia, that held a free trade agreement since 2005.
Katerina, I mean, it feels almost ridiculous, but has the White House given any explanation behind these tariffs?
Well, following the international backlash over these tariffs on an island inhabited.
Okay, so backlash. Backlash means a negative response. So Trump made this decision to put tariffs on the entire world, including this island with no people, and they received backlash, meaning the mean comments on social media, articles in newspapers, just lots of negative responses from this decision. Backlash.
Inhabited only by penguins and seals, the Trump administration continues to defend its decision. In an interview with CBS, the U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was grilled over this imposition of tariffs on the Himi Islands, a decision so bizarre that the CBS News host even asked if the Trump administration used AI to generate this tariff list, to which Lutnick denied this accusation. He said the idea is that there are no countries that are left off this tariff list. The explanation behind this decision, he says, was because of loopholes, according to Lutnick, who says that Trump...
All right, another important word we have here is loopholes. So a loophole is a way to avoid, a clever way to avoid some kind of law. So, for example, in the United States, we have many tax loopholes. So these are creative and legal, we would call it like a gray area, es como una zona gris. Como es algo que alguien está haciendo que no está ilegal, pero está como también evitando o como haciendo trampa a la ley, más o menos, pero no está ilegal. It's a loophole. Es como algo de contabilidad creativa o algo así. Entonces, this is a loophole. So, for example, in terms of tariffs, if the U.S. puts a tax on China and only China, then the business people in China can find a loophole and they can just they can move their products to a nearby country, like Thailand. So they can say, okay, before the products go to America, we're going to ship it to Thailand. And now the products are not from China, the products are from Thailand. This is a loophole. It's like a creative way to avoid some kind of rule or regulation.
Basically said, look, I can't even let any part of the world, be a place where China or other countries can ship through them. So a decision, he says, in case other nations try to ship through the area of the Himi Islands in order to avoid tariffs, according to the White House's officials, recent comments.
Okay, did you guys get that? Did you understand? So what they're saying is that they put the tariff on these small uninhabited islands because they're afraid that other countries will ship to this island first and then to the US as a loophole, as a way to avoid the tariff. I don't know if this is a logical justification. I don't buy it. I don't personally believe this response, but that is what they have said.
And Katerina, what do we know about the Himi Islands export and import data?
Well, official U.S. trade data on the island remains sketchy. Only sporadic imports categorized from the Heard and McDonald Islands with, as
Another word, sporadic. Sporadic means very irregular. So they don't have consistent business, they have sporadic business. So maybe in January something happened, and then also in March, then in April, and then nothing for 3 months, and then again in October. So it's sporadic, it's random, it's not consistent like you could see in a regular country. So, for example, between the US and Colombia, if you looked at the economic data with imports and exports, it would be consistent. It wouldn't be sporadic.
As you can see, zero in some years, while a few $1,000s in other years. So despite the island being inhabited only by penguins, there are other import and export data figures from the World Bank where you could see that appear to show that the U.S. imported $1.4 billion worth of goods from Himi in 2002. And almost all the import goods were actually classified as machinery and electric. However, it is not clear from these World Bank figures what specific products were imported by the U.S. There might be another explanation, though, according to Australian news reports. That is the fine dining Patagonian toothfish that they say is behind Trump's mystery penguin tariffs. According to the Australian longline fish operation that sells this toothfish, their company probably sells 2/3 on average of this fish that will go to the U.S. and also the other half to China, per an interview in this report. However, there are other inquiries regarding the imports and exports activities from this island. The Guardian reports that the mislabeled shipments are what actually might have led to these tariffs. The Guardian found that according to an analysis of U.S. import data and shipping records.
Okay. One thing here, we see mislabeled. So to label something, for example, if I have this and you buy something and you have the label on it that has the information about where it's made and things like this. So to mislabel is to incorrectly label something. Y entonces, dame un minuto, es que yo veo que en el Instagram está como congelado, no sé. Voy a mirar en el celular a ver si ya está funcionando bien o qué. No sé si está funcionando o no. Ok. Dame 2 minutos. Ok. Vamos a seguir allá en YouTube y voy a hacer eso.
Multiple shipments of goods, including, they say, Timberland boots, recycling plants, parts, and aquarium systems were classified as having originated from Norfolk Island and the Heard and McDonald Island, when neither the company address nor the port of departure nor the destination were actually located in those territories, as the White House continues to be grilled over what exactly led them to impose these penguin tariffs.
Catalina, thank you so much for...
All right. So the last word we see here is to impose. So to impose is a formal way to say to put something, like to put a new law in place. So he imposed these tariffs. Okay. Is going well on IG. Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Hector. Very good. On my screen, I see it frozen, but I'm glad everybody can still see me. Okay. Perfect. So we will go ahead and continue. Thank you so much for the update. All right. So we'll talk quickly about some of these other words. So we talked about inhabited. So the islands with these tariffs are inhabited by penguins and seals. And many of them are uninhabited by humans. So the island is barely inhabited, and they tax the region inhabited mostly by penguins. So, yes, quite a ridiculous situation. But, all right. Widespread. So, here, I forgot to put widespread ridicule, but widespread, it means something is generalized. It's something that is, that covers many people. So in this, it should be widespread ridicule, but the important thing is widespread. So, for example, you could say that social media use is widespread in society. Everybody is using the social media. So let's actually take a look at some videos here on English for the word widespread and see what else we can find. Okay.
I don't know everything about the widespread effects of the unemployment supplements, but I know how they affected my brother.
So he talks about widespread unemployment supplements. This, en este caso, yo creo que es como un subsidio. So some kind of government subsidy that affected many people.
But you set an example of widespread curiosity.
Widespread curiosity. So curiosity that affects many different areas. So I realize I can make this a little bit bigger. All right, much better. So we'll continue. We'll look at one more with widespread.
That fairly widespread immigration into the U.S. has played while a lot of Americans.
Very good. So widespread immigration, meaning it's very common and there's a lot of immigration at this moment in the U.S. So widespread is a very good word that you can use as an adjective in many contexts, como generalizada. All right. So the next one, sin precedentes, unprecedented. So this is something that has never been seen before. It's used to describe something that is very impressive and something new. So for example, when Trump first became, I guess, yeah, maybe both times he became president, it was unprecedented. Because the first time, it was the first time that a non-political person had become president. And the second time, it was the first time a felon, a convicted criminal, had become president. So both times were unprecedented in their own ways, you could say. But yeah, you see here, we're seeing an unprecedented heat wave. So como una ola de calor, no sé cómo sería en español, pero cuando está haciendo mucho calor como nunca en la vida, it's unprecedented. The company had unprecedented growth this year. So more growth than ever in history. All right, do we have any questions about any of the words so far? Unprecedented or anything like this? All right, very good. So the next one is goodwill. Es como buena voluntad en español. So goodwill is, yeah, when you're doing something with a good intention, with a kind of good heart in order to help people. So he donated out of goodwill. He did it from the goodness of his heart. Y también se usa mucho en los negocios cuando alguien tiene una relación buena con las personas. So entonces, we've built a lot of goodwill with our suppliers. This means we have a good relationship, they trust us, we trust them, and it's a healthy business relationship. So let's look at a few examples of goodwill and see what we can find out. All right, goodwill.
As a it has been held as
we're fighting a war there and we want to sort of get support and goodwill.
So he says we're fighting a war and we want to get support and goodwill by donating what? Let's see.
By donating aid.
By donating aid. So he's saying they're in some kind of a conflict and they want to kind of win the support of the people, win the hearts of the people by giving aid, maybe food or medical supplies, so to get goodwill.
as a state, and that would be a tragedy if this dream that was started with goodwill just became, you know, another dictatorship in the Middle East.
Okay. So here, I believe she's talking about Israel based on the context and kind of this information here. But she says, if a dream started by goodwill became a dictatorship. So she's talking about the country of Israel, which was started as a refuge for Jewish people after the Holocaust. And she says she doesn't want it to become an authoritarian regime or something like this. So obviously a very controversial topic, but the idea is, it was started with goodwill. It was started with the idea to help the Jewish people who are being persecuted have a safe place to live. So we'll move on to our next word. All right. Backlash. So we talked about this one a moment ago. This is a negative reaction. So when a politician or a celebrity does or says something that the public doesn't like, they get kind of a backlash. So this is when the people post mean things on social media, newspapers write mean articles. We call all of this backlash. So when Trump decided to tariff and tax the entire world, there was a big backlash, of course, and the backlash is continuing. So the ads sparked social media backlash, or the layoffs triggered a massive public backlash. So, si alguien me está viendo desde Colombia, por ejemplo, cuando el presidente Petro hace algo en Twitter, es que él ponga algo polémica y él recibe backlash. So he puts on something on Twitter, some controversial statement, and he receives a lot of backlash. So people respond, oh, I don't like this, I don't agree. And this is backlash. All right. Very good. And the last one here, sporadic, esporádico. This is something that is irregular. So here, her visits were sporadic. Sporadic supply issues slowed production. So if you want to improve your English, you need to practice your English consistently. If you practice your English sporadically, then your progress will also be very sporadic. So if you want to improve consistently, you need to practice consistently. To write down words, to review the words, to try to speak with people that you know, or listen to a lot of English, you need to practice consistently. Don't be sporadic with your English practice. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? All right. So now we're going to look at the fallout from the tariffs. So fallout, this is the negative consequence of some action. So when we talk about fallout, it's some situation happens and there's a large negative, we call this a domino effect or a snowball effect. So cuando esa cosa causa esa y las cosas siguen empeorando. Entonces this is fallout. So you could say the fallout from the war in Ukraine is that many people have to relocate. Many people have been killed. This is part of the fallout of this very bad situation. So what I'll do, I'll read this out loud. You can read it out loud as well. Actually, let's do this. I'll read a sentence and pause. Y si quieres, también puedes repetir después de mí para trabajar en la pronunciación. Y ya, vamos a hacerlo así. Entonces, obviamente no les puedo escuchar, pero así podemos practicar un poquito. Entonces, President Trump's new tariffs caused serious problems in the economy. They set off a stock market crash, and the value of stocks dropped very quickly. Because of this, many people pulled out of the market trying to protect their money. Okay, so in one moment, we're going to talk about the meaning of these words, but for now, we're going to read the next two parts. Okay. Businesses were also affected. Many companies were forced to scale back their production and cancel expansion plans. To deal with higher costs, some businesses decided they would pass on the cost to consumers, meaning prices would go up. Others chose to eat the costs themselves or absorb them, even if it meant making less profit. All of this uncertainty made people nervous about the future. Consumer confidence took a hit, and people became more careful about how they spend their money. All right, so now we'll continue and talk about the words here. The first word is set off. Es como provocar o desencadenar algo. Ese cosa de un colapso en el mercado, eso se refiere a set off a stock market crash. But to set something off just means to start something, to cause something. Typically a bad thing. So for example, his angry comment set off a huge argument. Or in this context, the new tariffs set off a stock market crash that wiped out billions. In this case, wiped out means eliminated. So let's look at a few examples of set off. See what we can find here.
So you set off?
So in this case, to set off on a quest, it means to start. So slightly different meaning here.
Me. Shuffle along set off a minor craze for African American shows and
okay, so something set off a craze, like a trend, una nueva moda. So it started this new trend.
Try that. I feel like that will probably set off a migraine for me.
Okay, so something will set off, will cause a migraine, which is a headache for her. So maybe some type of music or something will cause her a migraine.
And that panic set off again.
So the panic kind of started again. So to start or cause something again. All right, let's continue here. Set off. All right, pull out. So to pull out means to withdraw. So retirarse plata del banco, del mercado, de lo que sea. So for example, when you go to the ATM and you sacar dinero de tu cuenta, you're pulling money out of your account. So pull out is anything where you kind of grab something and you remove it, you take it away. So as a result of the tariffs, many people pulled out of the stock market, meaning they grabbed their money and they sold their stocks, they pulled out. All right. So many investors pulled out of real estate after the crash. And then, when prices dropped, people pulled out of the market. So pull out is to remove something from typically a financial asset. All right, very good. All right, next one, scale back. So we covered this one in a video this week, I believe, and it just means to reduce. The opposite of scale back is scale up, but to scale back just means to reduce, reducir, disminuir operaciones en un negocio. So, en este caso, por culpa de esos tariffs, muchos negocios están pensando que, okay, ya nos va a tocar, no sé, reducir, como vender unos edificios o despedir algunas personas o no sé qué. pero no vamos a tener tanta plata para expandir. So we can't scale up, we must scale back. So it's very, very common word. The company scaled back. Due to rising costs, companies were forced to scale back production. All right, the next one. Ya vamos a hablar de lo que pasó, pues cómo reaccionó esas empresas. Entonces, después de que Trump anunció todas esas tariffs, todos esos impuestos, todas las empresas estaban pensando en qué las iban a hacer y sobre todo qué iba a hacer con los precios. Por ejemplo, with the cars, en el negocio de los carros. So, in the US, the car industry is very big. We have very bad public transport, so everyone has a car. Most families, even lower class families, have 2 cars because it's necessary. So, for example, some car companies decided we're going to pass on these expenses to the consumer, which means we have to pay 20% more because of the tariff. So we will increase the price by 20%. Vamos a transferir los costos, hacer que el consumidor pague más. So they're going to just increase the price and pass on the tariff to the next person. So this can also just mean to transfer. So for example, in many families, the parents will pass on things to the children. So maybe like my grandfather has an old watch and he passes this watch on to my father, and then my father will pass this watch on to me. So es como transferir. Y en este caso estamos hablando de gastos, pero también puede ser con otras cosas. So if energy prices go up, they'll pass the cost on to you. To stay profitable, some firms pass on the costs to consumers. Okay. All right. Do we have any questions from anybody so far? All right. Very good. So we're going to go ahead and continue, but I want to look at a few of these examples with pass on real quick. It's a very good phrasal verb, pass on.
Parents pass on their suspicions to their kids.
Okay. So they're saying parents pass on their suspicions, como sus actitudes, la manera de ser. They pass it on, they transfer it to their kids.
That I think.
Here the same thing, pass on something to your kids.
If you look up.
Let's see if we can find pass on the cost.
So the garbage people have to pass on the cost to us.
Very good. The garbage people have to pass on the cost to us. So someone increases their costs, they pass it on to us. Very good. Very common situation. Okay. The opposite of passing on the costs is to absorb, or sometimes we say to eat the cost. So if a company has to pay 10% more, they may decide to eat the cost. So they're just going to assume it. They're going to asumir los costos or absorber los gastos. They're not going to charge the customer more. They're going to eat the cost. So some companies decided, sea lo que sea, we're going to eat the cost. We will not make our customers pay more. So some companies decided to do this. So other companies chose to eat the cost to keep prices low. And this is informal, but you can use this in a business context. It's very common in business context to say, oh, we just need to eat the cost. We made a mistake on the presentation, so we're going to eat the cost or something. We're going to deal with the cost. We're not going to make someone else pay for our mistake. Okay. Listo, vamos a seguir. All right. Take a hit. So this is when to take a hit, very literally, is como una golpe, a hit. So if something takes a hit, it's like something is affected in a bad way. So in this case, it's, yeah, fue afectada. La confianza del consumidor cayó. So the consumer confidence took a hit, meaning it kind of, yeah, it went down. So, por ejemplo, si todo está yendo muy mal en la economía, puede ser que a mi empresa took a hit when the taxes were increased, meaning it was affected in a bad way. So we can look at a few examples here, but do we have any questions so far? Hi, I'm from Colombia. Okay, very good. Welcome, bienvenidos, Nata Garcia. Welcome to the live stream. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, so let's look at some examples of take a hit. Or let's say took a hit and see what we can find.
I'm Ted Simons. A rough start to the new year on Wall Street as stocks took a hit.
Okay, so there you go. He says stocks took a hit the first day of trading. So the stock prices were decreased.
He really took a hit in his popularity and his ability to move his domestic policy agenda.
And so he says someone took a hit in his popularity, meaning his popularity was here, que él estaba muy popular, la gente le gustaba, and then he took a hit. So now his popularity is here. So, for example, cuando hay un escándalo o algo, you could say, in Colombia, Shakira took a hit when she had this problem with her concert tickets like a month ago. Her popularity took a hit. It was decreased. It was affected. All right. So now we're going to read. I'll read this again out loud and just kind of see if now the words make a little bit more sense. So President Trump's new tariffs caused serious problems in the economy. They set off a stock market crash, and the value of stocks dropped very quickly. Because of this, many people pulled out of the market, trying to protect their money. Businesses were also affected. Many companies were forced to scale back production and cancel expansion plans. To deal with the higher costs, some businesses decided they would pass on the cost to consumers, meaning prices would go up. Others chose to eat the costs themselves or absorb them, even if it meant making less profit. All of this uncertainty made people nervous about the future. Consumer confidence took a hit, and people became more careful about how they spend their money. Okay, so do we have any questions about any of the words so far here? All right. So now we're going to talk about the last section, the last thing that happened with the tariffs. So, ya vamos a hablar del capítulo, pues el último capítulo para ahora, lo que pasó ayer o anteayer. Entonces, ustedes ya están pues al tanto que Trump cambió de idea y más o menos canceló todos los tariffs menos los de China. Entonces, Trump caves. So we'll talk about the meaning of these words in a moment, but to cave is like to give in, como, how do you say, como rendirse. So he caved, he submitted to the pressure. He said, okay, I'm sorry, we're going to delay the tariffs because of the market or many reasons. But we'll read this and then talk about the meaning. So President Trump put off the start of tariffs for most countries, announcing a 90-day pause to ease global tensions. Before this decision, he gave a heads up on social media with a tweet signaling potential changes. This move led to question whether he caved to pressure from international leaders and economic advisors. Despite the delay for many nations, Trump ramped up tariffs on China, increasing them to 125%. Now I believe this number is 145% and maybe higher. It's quite ridiculous, but anyway, which escalated the conflict between the two countries. Following the announcement, the market bounced back, with stock market indices recovering from previous losses. However, some are speaking out, claiming insider trading, suggesting that certain individuals may have benefited from prior knowledge of the tariff delay. All right. So, aquí lo que están hablando, más o menos lo que pasó es Trump puso un post en Twitter, pues no es Twitter, pero es el versión Trump de Twitter, se llama Truth Social, pero es Twitter más o menos. Trump hizo su propia red, pero nadie lo usa. But we can look at this tweet, what he said. But pretty much before Trump changed his mind, he put out a message on social media telling people to buy more stocks, saying now is a good time to buy. Let's see where this is. Now is a good time. Give me one moment. I'm going to find this tweet. Wait, why is it so hard to find? This is very recent. Okay, for some reason I can't find it. I don't know why. It should be the most trending news story, but let me see. Okay, let's look at this article and then we'll move on to the vocabulary if we can see. Did he delete it? Okay, so we can look here real quick at what he said. Okay, so before he announced the changes to the tariffs, actually, yeah, let's watch this video.
Yes, you just see a helicopter splitting in two with the rotor flying off.
Never mind. We're not going to watch this video. This is completely unrelated. But what he said this is a great time to buy. So he put this message out, and then a couple hours later, he changed the tariff rule, and the stock market increased. It went through the roof. So a very interesting sequence of events. All right. So the first word here is put off. This is to delay or postpone something. So posponer el inicio de algo. So it's very commonly used in any context. So you could say, I often put off cleaning my house until it gets very dirty. Or the government put off the start of tariffs to avoid economic disruption. Okay, so to put something off, it's very commonly used. Let's look at a few examples of this. It's a very good phrase, put off.
Just do you put off writing a paper until the last minute?
Very good. Do you put off writing a paper to the last minute? So do you delay writing an essay, doing an important task until la última hora? La última hora. Entonces,
Why do we?
People might be put off. Friends, do you ever do that thing where you put off your small, entirely not time-consuming sewing projects for approximately 400 years?
So here she's talking about sewing, como coser, and she's saying, do you put it off? Do you delay starting this because maybe you're, afraid that you don't want to start? It's very difficult. So put off. Very useful phrasal verb. Okay. All right. Next one. To give a heads up. This is like to give someone a warning. So avisar con anticipación. So, for example, antes de que Trump cambió esa política, él avisó a todo el mundo y a sus amigos también, pues que algo iba a cambiar. Entonces que ya deben comprar algo en la bolsa porque ya va a cambiar algo. Entonces por eso, por esta avisa, por eso es la polémica. Todo el mundo está diciendo que eso no se hace y todo eso. So, to give someone a heads up is to give a warning about something. So, she gave me a heads up about the schedule change. The CEO gave a heads up to investors about the upcoming policy shift. So, to give someone a heads up, to warn someone about something that's going to happen. So, very good phrase there. All right. To cave. So cave, in some cases, it means cueva, like the place como una cueva. But in this case, cave as a verb, you can think about como una cueva que está derrumbando, que es así, que se cae todo. Entonces, es como ceder ante la presión. So, if you are, for example, que estás discutiendo algo con la novia y, no sé, dice algo como muy sencillo. Por ejemplo, ¿dónde van a ir a cenar? Tú quieres ir a comer pizza y ella quiere ir a, no sé, a un restaurante, pues, de hamburguesas. Y ustedes están, pues, no peleando así, pero discutiendo. Y en algún momento, you cave. You say, okay, está bien, vamos como quieras, donde tú quieras. Vamos a comer hamburguesa. So to kind of, to cave, to submit to what the other person wants, to surrender. So in this case, he caved to the pressure and agreed to the terms. The company caved to the pressure from shareholders. So when you have some discussion, and both people are very strong, eventually one person will cave. They will submit. They will agree. Okay. The next one is ramp up. So literally, a ramp is something like this, como una rampa, que por ejemplo una rampa pues que usan las personas en una silla de ruedas para subir algo. Entonces, to ramp up es el mismo acción, como incrementar o subir. So to ramp up is increase something. So you can say we are ramping up production in our company. Or we're ramping up, Trump is ramping up the tariffs on China. He is increasing the tariffs on China. So incrementar. So ramp up is quite an interesting phrase there. So let's look here at some interesting examples of ramp up. Ramp up. All right.
Meanwhile, an inhalation has a much steadier ramp up and ramp down.
So he's talking about ramp up, to increase, ramp down, decrease.
Of school, upheaval means
the feelings of emptiness really ramp up if you crash into a depression.
So she says if you feel sad, the feelings of sadness will ramp up. In this case, she's talking about bipolar disorder. It's a very serious situation.
About 9 o'clock, start to ramp up to 80.
This way, it's just really
trying to ramp up staffing.
She says ramp up staffing. So to increase, como contratar más gente, ramp up staffing. Okay? All right, very good. So we'll continue on a couple more. All right. The next one is to bounce back. This is like recuperarse. So when you recover, you have a bad time and then a good time. So you bounce back. So por ejemplo, la bolsa bounced back, se recuperó. Entonces vamos a mirar pues el graph a ver cómo está. So to bounce back es como rebotar. Entonces vamos a mirar 5 días. Ah, no, un mes. Ok, por ejemplo, eso de los tariffs pasó ahí. Entonces, se bajó mucho, mucho, mucho y hoy se bajó y aquí se recuperó. It bounced back. It went back to where it was. Y también podemos usar eso para hablar de tú misma, no sé. Por ejemplo, es que perdí el trabajo, perdí la novia, perdí casi todo, pero ya I bounced back, I recovered. So in life, sometimes life's hard and we have a bad experience, but if you stay positive, you have good friends, you bounce back. So to come back. All right. Very good. Next one. To speak out. This is when you express your opinion against something typically. So, expresarse abiertamente. Y también es como alzar la voz, más o menos. So, when something is happening that you don't agree with, you can speak out against it. So, in this situation, people are speaking out against Trump because they don't agree with the tariffs, and they also don't agree with the way that he put the tariffs and then removed the tariffs and all of the things surrounding this related to the market. So some people think that he was manipulating the market, so they're speaking out against this. Okay. All right. Very good. And then the last thing here is this word insider trading. So ese es el uso de información privilegiada. Y en ese caso, las personas están acusando a Trump de insider trading por ese mensaje que puso en las redes. Está diciendo que eso era como una señal para la gente que, no sé, pues que debe comprar las cosas en la bolsa y que eso no se hace, que eso es como información privilegiada y eso no debe hacer. Entonces, this is insider trading. When the people have the information from people in the company that other people don't have, you're not allowed to trade with stocks based on this information. So this is another word that people are using a lot to talk about this. So, mira, allá lo que vamos a hacer, vamos a leer eso de nuevo y la idea es que ya que hemos explicado todas esas frases, ojalá ustedes puedan entender mejor y después de eso pueden explicar eso a un colega, un amigo, un familiar. Eso es la idea. All right, so I'll read this out loud. President Trump put off the start of tariffs for most countries, announcing a 90-day pause to ease global tensions. Before this decision, he gave a heads up on social media with a tweet signaling potential changes. This move led to question whether he caved to pressure from international leaders and economic advisors. So he delayed, he warned, and then he gave in. He surrendered. Despite the delay for many nations, Trump ramped up tariffs on China, increasing them to 125%, which escalated the trade conflict between the two countries. Following the announcement, the market bounced back, with major stock indices recovering from previous losses. However, some are speaking out, claiming insider trading, suggesting that certain individuals may have benefited from prior knowledge of the tariff delay. So here we have he ramped up or increased. The market bounced back, it recovered. Some people are speaking out, como alzando la voz, they're protesting, claiming insider trading. So when people trade with the privileged information. Okay, so do we have any questions so far here? All right, so ya vamos a hablar de cómo debes estudiar eso. Entonces, cuando uno aprende una nueva frase, la mejor manera de estudiar es con un programa como Quizlet o Enki. Es como la idea, es como debe seleccionar como 5 frases, 5 dichos y la idea es que uno debe hacer unas oraciones y para eso puedes usar ChatGPT. Entonces, si yo quiero aprender esa frase speak out, vamos a ver, vamos a hacer eso. Por ejemplo, vamos a hablar de eso antes de que terminamos. So, all right. So, lo que puedes hacer es usar el AI para hacer oraciones para practicar. So, puedes poner, por ejemplo, estoy aprendiendo el inglés y quiero entender y poder usar la frase speak out. ¿Me puedes hacer, me puedes explicar y hacerme 10 oraciones en varios contextos a un nivel, no sé, B1 con esta frase? Entonces, vamos a ver. Entonces, ChatGPT te va a explicar muy bien lo que quiere decir, cómo se puede pronunciar en español y cómo todo eso de estructura y forma. Y mira, 10 oraciones. Entonces, she spoke out against the new rules at work. Entonces, puedes leer todo eso y si quieres como estudiar más, es muy bien hacer unas flashcards, como unas fichas. Entonces, hay una sitio web, se llama Quizlet, que puedes usar para hacer fichas online y es completamente gratis. Hay pues una versión que es pagado, pero puedes usar la versión gratis. Entonces, vamos a hacer, yo hago con mi cuenta email. Y yo creo que con inglés, no, eso no importa. Ok. January 1, ya, ¿qué importa? No, ya sí. Entonces puedes usar esta continue to free. No hay que pagar nada. Entonces, hace una nueva set. No, no, no. Y, ok, inglés. Entonces, lo que puedo hacer es tomar una oración desde acá y ponga la oración en inglés aquí en el frente, ok, y ponga inglés. Y el español puedes poner en el otro lado. Simplemente español. Ok. Ya, y si quieres puedes poner una imagen, pero eso no es necesario. Entonces vamos a create and practice. Y two card, ok. Necesito dos fichas. Y entonces la idea es que si uno, pues si quieres aprender una frase, debes hacer al menos 5 ejemplos, pero entre más ejemplos mejor. Entonces, y lo puedes hacer más fácil con ChatGPT. Entonces puedes poner, como yo puse aquí, nivel B1, nivel B2, en el contexto del trabajo, de inglés, de viaje, de lo que sea. Puedes poner lo que quieres y es por eso que existe el AI, es muy bacano. Entonces ya, vamos a ver cómo puedes pronunciar eso. Create and practice. Ok. Y ya, start to learn. Alright. Y el mejor de ese Quizlet es que puedes,
I wanted to speak out, but I was too nervous.
entonces, puedes poner el audio también. Y es como, ok, choose the matching definition. Quería decir algo, pero estaba muy nervioso. Y obviamente, uno va a gastar unos tiempo haciendo esas fichas, pero ese tiempo que gasta haciendo eso también es práctica. Entonces puedes usar eso, intentar pronunciar las frases y hay otro sitio web que es muy bueno para eso. Dame un minuto y yo les voy a enseñar eso también. Porque si uno quiere aprender, es que hay que echarle las ganas. Y aquí se hace. Entonces, Natural Reader se llama. Okay. Entonces, lo que puedes hacer es tomar eso, ponerlo en este sitio web, se llama naturalreaders.com. También es gratis. Puedes hacerlo. A ver.
I wanted to speak out, but I was too nervous.
Y puedes cambiar de voz. Entonces, ese es un hombre de Estados Unidos.
pero como también hay mujeres y otras voces de diferentes personas, diferentes países. Entonces, si uno quiere practicar inglés de Australia, de Inglaterra, lo que sea, está acá. Entonces, eso es muy bacano. Entonces, lo que yo haría y lo que yo hago pues con francés y ya con el chino y encuentro la frase, entonces puedes elegir de unos que aprendimos hoy, otro que viste en una película, en una serie, en un podcast, en otra cosa, esos son de las redes. Póngala ahí en ChatGPT para hacer 10 oraciones en diferentes contextos y póngalo ahí y métete a practicar. Y si puedes practicar así, pues todos los días es muy bien. Pero cada otro día algo así está bien. Eso es muy útil y así se puede aprender más rápido. También se puede aprender viendo cosas en internet, unas series, pero eso es como un poco más lento y hay un poco más, ¿cómo se llama eso? De suerte. Entonces, porque uno no se puede controlar lo que aprende así. Pero así puedes decir, yo quiero aprender esa y esa, póngalo en las fichas y lo puedes aprender. Entonces es más, tienes más control así. Entonces es lo que yo recomiendo. Entonces, más o menos aquí es el plan. Yo voy a poner acá los otros sitios web. Entonces, como era Natural Reader, yo voy a ponerlos ahí y voy a compartir con ustedes que estén ahí todavía todo eso. Ok, Natural Readers y Readers y el otro es Quizlet. Es gratis. Obviamente todos quieren que uno pague para algo, pero no es necesario para aprender. Ok, ya. Hasta ahora tenemos algunas preguntas. Thank you very much, Hector. Pero sí, si ustedes hacen eso y si están muy juiciosos con eso, eso sí les va a ayudar. Y obviamente es un proceso, es como ir al gimnasio. Uno no va a ponerse en forma en un solo workout, en un solo semana, en un solo mes. Pero si uno siga y uno tiene algún tipo de consistencia, y si uno no lo hace esporádico, if you don't do it sporadically, eso va a salir bien y va a ir mejorando. Entonces, ya. Ok. So, ya. Eso es todo para esta noche. Another piece of advice. Otro, pues, anuncia. Yo, pues, desde ese momento yo estoy de vacaciones. Entonces, para las 2 semanas que viene, yo estoy de vacaciones. Entonces, voy con mi novia a Europa. Estoy muy emocionado por eso. Pero, obviamente, no voy a poder hacer los live streams desde allá. Entonces, el viernes que viene y pues después, entonces el 18 y el 25 no habrá live stream. Pero ya hice muchos videos, entonces en YouTube y Instagram va a haber, sí, va a haber muchas otras videos corticos. Y si me tienen una pregunta, me escribes y yo intento pues a responder. Entonces, muchas gracias a ustedes para ver todo eso, sí, para quedar conmigo. Hoy, si estás interesado en tomar unas clases conmigo, yo ofrezco clases 1 a 1 y también grupales. Y sí, eso es todo. Voy a quedarme aquí quieto unos 2 minuticos más. Si tiene alguna pregunta, me escribes. Y, sí, me falta compartir eso. Me falta compartir esa vaina. Ok. Voy a compartir sí, la presentación. Si ustedes quieren revisar, voy a ponerlo acá también en YouTube. Y voy a ponerlo ahorita en mi estado en Instagram, por si quiere. Entonces, ya, ¿alguna pregunta? Si no, thank you very much, Hector. Very good. Yes, I'll put some pictures on the story, and yeah, I'll show you as well in class. So, very good. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a great weekend. Yeah, and I never know how to end this, but that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a couple weeks.